title of my message this morning is Moving from Thanksgiving to Thanksliving. And as Thanksgiving's Day nears, our thoughts reflect on home, family, friends, and all the things that we are grateful for. Thanksgiving is this Thursday. Sadly, there seems to be a need of a national holiday for many people to slow down enough to think about what they are grateful for. Doesn't hurt that a lot of people get off from work, out of school, that kind of thing for Thanksgiving Day. And I'd like to begin by sharing the story of a married woman who receives an unexpected gift. Her husband tells the story. After I retired, he said, my wife insisted that I accompany her to her trips to Target. Unfortunately, like most men, I found shopping boring, and I preferred to get in, get stuff, and get out. Equally unfortunate, my wife, like most women, loves to browse. Yesterday, my dear wife received the following letter from the local Target. Dear Mrs. Harris, over the past 6 months, your husband has caused quite a commotion in our store. We cannot tolerate this behavior and have been forced to ban you and your husband from the store. The story goes on. The letter read, our 15 complaints against your husband, Mr. Harris, are listed below and are documented by our video surveillance cameras. On June 15th, your husband took 24 boxes of condoms and randomly put them in other people's carts when they weren't looking. July 2nd, he set all the alarm clocks in housewares to go off at 5-minute intervals. Then, on July 7th, he made a trail of tomato juice on the floor leading to the women's restroom. Bad. July 19th, your husband walked up to a brand new employee and told her in an official tone of voice, Code 3 in housewares. Get on it right away, girl. This caused the employee to leave her assigned station and to receive a reprimand from her supervisor. That, in turn, resulted in a grievance with the union. And this caused management to lose time, and it cost the company money. We don't even have a Code 3. Then, on August 4th, Mr. Harris went to the service desk, and he angered an entire line of waiting customers by trying to put a bag of M&Ms on layaway. Then, he moved a caution wet floor sign to a carpeted area in the store. On August 15, Mr. Harris went to the camping department and he set up a tent. He told the children shoppers that he'd invite them into the tent if they went and brought pillows and blankets from the bedding department, which 20 children went and did. August 23rd, when a clerk asked if they could help him, he began crying and screaming, why can't you people leave me alone? Just leave me alone, getting the clerks and our customers upset. The EMTs were called. On September 4th, Mr. Harris looked right into the security camera and used it like a mirror while he picked his nose. September 10th, while handling guns in the hunting department, he asked the clerk where the antidepressants were. Then on October 3rd, your husband darted around the store suspiciously while loudly humming the Mission Impossible theme. Do, 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 do. You get the point. And then on October 6th, Mr. Harris, while in the auto department, practiced his Madonna look by holding different sizes of funnels on his chest. On October 18th, Your husband hid within a clothing rack. And when our customers browsed through that rack, he startled them by yelling, "Pick me! Pick me!" Then, on October 22nd, when an announcement came over the loudspeaker, he fell onto the floor. He assumed a fetal position and started screaming, "Oh no, it's those voices again." And last but not least, on October 23rd, your husband went into the fitting room. He shut the door. He waited a while, and then he yelled very loudly, "Hey, there's no toilet paper in here." At which point, one of the clerks fainted. All this to say why we are banning you and your husband from visiting our store. Now, it was obvious that Mrs. Harris loved to shop at Target because if you look at all these dates, she and her husband were there practically every week. And she was no doubt grateful to realize an opportunity for a new joy called shopping without Mr. Harris. Being grateful for the good that we received is easy, but giving thanks for the not-so-good experiences and the seemingly horrid things that we experience is much more challenging. There's a true story about a woman who was experiencing a lot of guilt because while driving, she hit a young boy. This woman was driving, and she didn't notice that there was a young boy who was riding his bike along on the sidewalk. But when the boy got to the intersection of the street, he suddenly, without paying attention to the traffic light and the ongoing traffic, he darted out across the street while traffic was moving. And she couldn't help herself. She was right there at that intersection, so her car hit the boy. And the impact threw him from his bike into the street. The parents were contacted and immediately arrived as the boy was being loaded into an ambulance and taken to the hospital. The woman was distressed. She felt sad and guilty. But she was relieved to learn that the boy was alive, with only a broken arm and a broken leg. She went to the hospital to visit the boy and his parents, and when she got to the boy's room, the parents immediately stopped her at the door of the room and expressed their gratitude to her for accidentally injuring their son. The woman was dumbfounded. She was confused, not understanding why the boy's parents were pleased or happy or grateful that she had injured their son. The parents had her sit down while they explained their feelings to her. What this woman didn't know was that coming up alongside her car on the street at that very moment when she and the boy collided, there was a huge truck coming up to that same intersection at that same time. Her car hitting the boy had saved his life. The police told the parents that if her car had not stopped him, he would have collided with that huge truck, and their son surely would have been killed. So, the woman, the car, the accident were all instruments of God's love and his protection for this boy. A word for this experience is grace. The feeling his parents and this woman had was gratitude, and the attitude they all had was thankfulness. The unfortunate accident was something to be grateful for. It was a blessing in disguise, which is defined as something that seems bad or unlucky at first, but is realized later to be something good. I think this exactly points out what giving thanks and being grateful does for us. It helps us to see through something which seems bad until we can find what is good in it. Just like the song that I sang earlier, the song that I wrote called Thanksgiving. Being grateful and thankful teaches us to look around to see the good in things that are happening, even if on the outer these things do not appear to be something to be grateful for. Sometimes we must search a little longer and a little harder to find that good. In the past, I've shared one of my own most impactful experiences of blessings in disguise, about an occurrence which turned out to be a moment of grace, a feeling of gratitude, and an attitude of deep thankfulness. In 1982, I felt called to Unity Ministry, and I applied for entrance to the ministerial program at Unity School of Christianity. After filling out numerous forms and answering many heartfelt, deep questions, I was invited to Missouri for 2 sets of interviews. The interviews went well, I thought, and I returned home feeling confident that I would be accepted into the program. I was surprised at first and heartbroken when the letter came letting me know that I had not been accepted into the ministerial program for 1982. So at first I tried to figure out why I was denied. I was encouraged in the letter to apply the following year, 1983, and I did, and I was accepted at that time. But I had to question whether my guidance, my inner guidance, was true. And when I did, I found that yes, my guidance was true. So I decided to look at what I could do to better myself and better prepare myself for ministerial studies, which I would have the next year when I would be accepted. I was not angry or fearful, but sure that there was some purpose, there was some good in having been denied acceptance in 1982. And as it turned out, as it usually does, several things occurred and happened in that year that let me know that my not being at the school in Unity Village was a blessing. It was a blessing in disguise. The most impactful of these reasons was that my mother was brought back to life. She had died and was brought back to life. Let me share with you what happened. There was a day that I was off work and I didn't have any classes and I was home. So my mother came to me and asked me to take her to the hospital to visit a friend. She did not drive. And I said, sure, I'll take you. And I did. And I waited downstairs in the lobby and my mother went off to go visit her friend. I wasn't concerned about it. But I began to get concerned because the hours began passing. And it was several hours now, and the visiting hours at the hospital were ending, and my mother had not returned. But I didn't know what I could do because I didn't know how to contact her. And even worse, I didn't know what friend she was visiting. I didn't know what room that person was in or what floor. And so I really couldn't figure out how I could contact her and find out what happened, okay? I was getting worried. I was getting concerned. And then I overheard some nurses talking about a woman who was found lying on the floor, some hallway. Her heart had stopped. And an intern happened by, and he got her heart beating again, literally bringing her back from the dead. And then they said the name Banks. They must have looked through through my mother's purse and found some information on her. And so I jumped up and ran over to see what was going on, where my mother was, how she was, if I could see her. And you know, it's a big blur because I really don't remember what happened after that, how the connections were made. I'm sure that I contacted my dad and my sisters and family came down. And I'm sure that I had the opportunity to see my mother But I don't remember any of that, really. I guess the shock of it all, that kind of thing. But what it told me is that my being denied entrance in the ministerial program that year was a blessing in disguise. Because if I had been accepted in that program, I would have been in Missouri. I would have moved from New Jersey to Missouri to attend classes in Missouri. And I would have been there at this right exact moment. And the doctor said that if this had happened anywhere else, if my mother had been anywhere else and had a heart attack, okay, there would not have been enough time for anyone to bring her back, to revive her. So I was so grateful that I was denied entrance into the Unity program in that year. And I think that having a grateful attitude, a thankful attitude toward life, an openness to witness good things happening, to be open to see the blessings that God and life brings to us. I think this creates an attitude of gratitude in us. I think it creates an openness where we are able to begin to see behind the mask of difficulties or the problems or the disappointments that there is good there. And it allows us to wait and to wait until we can see the good in these negative experiences. I believe that thanksgiving is when we are choosing to make having a grateful heart and mind a habit. And I believe that when we get into the habit of thinking, feeling, and expressing gratitude, we're moving into thanksgiving. When we are thanksgiving, we are inhaling and exhaling gratitude for the big and the small goodies of life, for the love, the support, and the encouragement that we receive from others. And we find ourselves giving thanks for the challenges which make us stop, pay attention, change, and grow. Here are a few tenets of thanksgiving. First, it is an affirmation of goodness. When we are thanksgiving, we affirm that there is good in the world and that gifts and benefits and blessings come into our personal experience and into the lives of others. It becomes a foundational belief for us, a belief that we move out into the world from, that there is good and we are open and capable of receiving it. Number two, when we are thanksgiving, we recognize that the source of this goodness is beyond our human ego self. We acknowledge that other people, that God, our higher power, or other experiences give us many gifts, big and small, inner and outer, to help us grow spiritually. Number three, thanksgiving, or making gratitude a habit, allows us to celebrate the present, and it helps us appreciate the value of different aspects of our life, even when things seem problematic. We participate more in life because we can see the positives. Number four, gratitude blocks toxic negative emotions such as envy, regret, resentment, shame, guilt. Emotions that can destroy our happiness. Number five, people who are thanksgiving are more resilient in the face of serious trauma, adversity, and suffering than others who do not have the habit of gratitude. 6, when we are thanksgiving, we have the ability, and this is a good one, an important one, we have the ability to view and interpret negative things in life, negative life events, from a higher perspective in a way that promotes healing and wholeness. 7. Remember that there are blessings in disguise. Remember the boy who got hit by a car, but he survived because he was not hit by a truck. And remember my mother who survived because I didn't get into Unity's ministerial program in the year 1982 when I first applied. Thanks living helps us see the blessings behind the disguises that the blessings may be wearing, so we can be aware of them and experience them now. 8. Grateful people have a higher sense of self-worth, and this is because when we're grateful, we have a sense that someone is looking out for us. We become aware that someone is providing for our well-being, or we notice a network of relationships, past and present, of people who have helped us to get where we are in our life right now. We feel grateful when we start to recognize the contributions that others have made in our lives. Once we realize that other people see value in us, we are encouraged to see value in ourselves. This is what Thanksgiving does for us. How do we move from Thanksgiving to Thanksgiving? We move from Thanksgiving to Thanksgiving by making the attitude and altitude of gratitude a habit. We practice counting our blessings on a regular basis, and we get in the habit of giving thanks to others, to God, and to ourselves. When we are Thanksgiving, we are doing what the great Bible formula says to do in order to experience joy and a more abundant life. Rejoice always, pray continually, and give thanks in all circumstances. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 16 through 18. Happy Thanksgiving and happy Thanksgiving. God bless you.